Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead's Micro Moment Monday, where today we're going to be talking about food security and self-reliance. Everything to do with food storage and particularly how we can all level up our food storage. You know, when we say the word food storage, that can sound so daunting. Sometimes it feels like it's this great big fat elephant in the middle of the room and nobody can quite define it. It has been defined in so many different ways. So, as a university professor, one of the things that I taught my students in terms of learning about a complex topic was to chunk that information. Chunk it into pieces that are interrelated, but just focus on the chunks and then the whole will come into better view, better focus. And so that's what I'm hoping to do today. And I'm not alone. Other people have done this as well, but I've thought about this for a really long time. And I just happened across a couple of months ago an internet site from, I believe it was Australia, from a company that sells Mylar bags. And they had this idea of 3 levels of food storage. And while they call theirs just a little bit different, I have sort of directed it toward the things that almost all of our videos that have to do with any kind of food storage, which is most of over 500 videos, that we have sort of obliquely talked about different levels of food storage, but I want to take that obliqueness and make it very concrete and in chunks. And I think that this will help us going forward. And so here is a compilation of my thinking and how, at least in this household, how we're going to start looking at food storage. First of all, level 1 is immediate. And immediate means if something happens right now, how are we going to feed our families? How are we going to survive? This has just to do with the food, and there are all other details, but that's not for discussion in this video. So immediate, and let's say that that immediate is for a couple of months. And so what do we need to have on hand? Well, we're proposing 60 days of meals plus 3 days of water minimum. Now, really, you need a whole lot more than 3 days, but if that's all you can store, then that's all you can store. But 60 days of meals, and here's how we do that. We integrate what is in our freezer with what is in our refrigerator with what is in our pantry, and we do it deliberately. We do it on purpose. We do it with a plan, a menu plan. And one of our classes coming up is going to be, because we've had a lot of requests on this, we're going to do in our RH class on meal planning, and that will feed directly into this as well. But we can take this 60 days of meals as a personal challenge. That is a starting point for us. We can work really hard to try to get 60 meals in our freezer, refrigerator, and pantry. Now, one of the ways that we can think about this is these are mostly fresh foods. Not everything is fresh, certainly not in a freezer, although a freezer preserves freshness. So does a refrigerator. And pantry is, of course, for things that don't need any kind of cold storage. But it is very possible to, without a lot of effort and banking on what you already have in your freezer, refrigerator, and pantry, to put together 60 days worth of meals. And we're going to help with that. We've already done some videos on that. And actually, I am focusing on my new book is going to be the 60 days of meals to help people who want a little bit more. We're going to give plenty of information on video, so you don't necessarily have to buy the book, but there will be a book that you can refer to if you wish. Now, level 2 is short term. Well, how short is short term? Well, it's as short as anybody wants to make it. And so I would say a minimum of a year. So what are the kind of foods that we have that we have a minimum of a year? Well, it is our canned goods, whether we buy them in the store or whether we home can them. The best references say those will last about a year. Well, I'm here to tell you that ours last a whole lot longer than that. I've eaten, in fact, I think we did it on one of our videos, a pint of hamburger that we found that was, gosh, Jim, how old was that? Do you remember? 10 or 12 years old that we found?
Somewhere in here.
back in a corner someplace and we ate it and it was just fine. I've eaten 5-year-old peaches that have been canned. But know that this isn't like in stone. We're chunking information in kind of a general sort of way, knowing that they're going to bleed into each other. So if we think of about 1 year, it's canned goods, it's dehydrated goods, things, if we have a dehydrator, things that we are dehydrating last about a year. And this really is pretty accurate. The dehydrated goods that I have done, they last about a year, and then after that, they're not so good anymore. And then also frozen foods in our freezer. And just so that you know, this 1 year is elastic. We had a wonderful pot roast the other day that had been in the freezer for 3 years. And so chunking information is good to think about things, but in reality, those boundaries are a little bit loose. And then shelf-stable goods. And these are mostly packaged by keeping them in their original packaging. We can vacuum seal them or use oxygen absorbers. This is kind of an example of our short-term. These are original packages. Because we live on the edge of the wilderness, we have rodents in our garage, which is where we keep our food. And so we have to take extra measures and put things in bins, particularly Mylar. Mice can get into Mylar with no trouble at all. And so this is an example of what we have for our level 2 short term. Then we have level 3 long term, and I'm just saying that's beyond a year, up to 30 years. And this is things that are like grains and rice and pasta. Our freeze-dried foods will keep longer than a year. I don't make any claims that they will keep 30 years. And I think it's a little foolish to do so. Now, things in number 10 cans that we buy commercially, that's a different story. Those things have been tested and they do last a really long time, 20 years, 30 years. Mylar bags and 5-gallon buckets. So what I have here are some plastic containers that we use for level 2 and even level 1 for part of our pantry. These are, I buy things in bulk, so storing things in their original packaging is one way to do it. But I also store the product. There's no way that I'm going to keep 50 pounds of beans and it's their original packaging. I need to put it in smaller containers. And then these buckets represent other buckets that we have. This is a 2-gallon size. We have also 4 gallons and 5-gallon size, and we have things that are in Mylar bags inside these bigger, larger buckets, the 5-gallon buckets. So as we think about leveling up our food storage, we need to focus right here for immediate storage, immediate emergency preparedness. What happens if the grid goes down for a really long time today? Are we prepared? So let's focus on challenging ourselves to get 60 days of meals. At the same time, we want to be sure that we're building up our canned goods, dehydrated goods, frozen foods. This is the integration of freezer, refrigerator, pantry. Freezer also falls right here. And then as we can, we work for the longer long-term food storage. So if we chunk things in that way, perhaps it makes it a little bit easier for us. Now, the book that Cindy, my sister, and I wrote, that is a food storage plan of how you can build meals for 2 weeks and then repeat those meals every 2 weeks for a year. That is really a good way to do it. It doesn't exactly do this. It is more level 2 short term for a year to do it that way. We use mostly food storage foods in that one. This one incorporates things that are in the freezer, things that are in the refrigerator to a greater degree. We are really loving the integration of our freezer, refrigerator, and pantry, and have already done some and will do more videos on that particular aspect. So this is a challenge for all of us to level up our food storage so that we can be super well prepared. No matter what may happen, we will be able to feed ourselves and our families and help with our neighbors as well, if that's in our nature to do so. So thank you so much for being with us. Have a happy, wonderful day, and we will see you very soon with another video.